big moves happens when there is quietness. See, most beginner traders think moves, come from, news, volume, or random volatility, but that's not how price actually moves. The truth is, before the market explodes, it usually get quiet, slow, and tight, and compressed, almost as if it's building pressure. And if you learn how to recognize that pressure, you'll stop chasing moves and start anticipating them. So, on last series we talked about, you know, the three phases of a uptrend, transition phase when it's reversing, and a downtrend. So on this video, we'll be talking the two steps of how to trade contraction, and how to trade expansion. So think of it like this: when you shake a can of soda up, right? You don't hear anything, but you can feel the pressure building up, and then all of a sudden you open and it explodes. The same thing when looking at this right here. So we're gonna get right into the charts and how to understand how to trade this, right? So as we can see right here, right, we can see how we have this nice contraction phase, right? Let's box this real quick. We can see where price is clearly in a clear contraction phase. Make sure I highlight this so you can see this if you can't see it. Let's do let's do orange. So we can see this right here where price is in this nice contraction phase. You might hear contraction, you might hear consolidation, whatever. Or you might hear prices just getting very choppy. You're gonna hear all kind of different terms, right? But we can see this, we can see how price is very choppy right here, right? And then all of a sudden, let's kind of zoom in. We can see all of a sudden we have a nice, huge explode. So, and a lot of traders get actually trapped out in this phase. You can see how price actually faked out below here and then still close overall within the same range. So what that means is price had grabbed liquidity at the bottom and then decided to go in its original direction. So that's why it's very important to wait for the candle to close, because as you see, this was just a quick liquidity grab. Even on this right here, let's zoom into this right here. We can see another quick contraction phase, right? And one thing we got to realize a retracement and contraction are two different things. This is a clear retracement. Price is retracing and then going back up higher. Contraction is when you see, wicks overlapping, candles overlapping, prices just on top of each other, not going nowhere. That's what contraction look like, right? Same here. And then you gotta think, this whole thing, it took a whole week for this got this phase and finally start going back in this direction. After it exploded right there, it got back in and started contraction. So when price think like this: when price makes a huge move, every time it moves very huge, it has to slow down and contract before it makes the next big move. It has to rest, right? So you can see here it explode, and this is the 4-hour time frame for those who wondering. So you can see here very choppy right here as well. That was like what, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So that was a whole entire day before price took off going to the next day. All right. Here's another example. So the main goal is to help you be able to identify these type of phases. Now you probably wonder, okay, well, how do I know we're in that phase of, well, you'll know when price start doing stuff like this. So you see how price came up and then it came down, fell in this low, right? So this is the considered low of this range, and then all of a sudden it came back up, still, around this same high, and it came right back down, making equal lows, and it's just kept doing that. So you'll see it as a pattern build. You don't know at first until it started actually building that pattern. That's why I always tell y'all, let structure tell the story, And you got multiple ways how you can trade this, Me personally, I like waiting for it to break out for it to show its true direction. I don't like trying to trade into all this, because this is where you can get faked out. So it's best to wait for a price to break out that range to confirm. So you see the difference between this one. On this one, when it broke out this range, it didn't close. But when it broke out of it, it actually closed above. So that's a clear indication that it's going to continue to go up higher. Just how this did. Was in the same kind of range, and then price took off. Even this one, here's a good one right here too. Price, not really. It still kind of moved, but let's go back to the charts. Let's kind of go more farther back. You can see here how where price was in after coming down like this, it started creating this kind of range right here, and then we finally explode up. Still kind of choppy a little bit, but let's go to this. Here's a better one. So here's the one right here. Here's a good example. So you can see here, after price started going up, right, you can see how price was in this nice choppy range. So this is price resting, and you want to, this is the phase where you want to just wait for it to break out of it and show its true structure. Now you got some people who are good at anticipating, buying these breakouts. Like when price, like you see how like it's constantly making these lows and then price breakout right here. You got some people who kind of get lucky and know what they're doing, how to trade this and catch this here, stop off below here. But me personally, I like waiting for price to break out of it and then try to catch my entry, and I expect it to not go back below this range. But you can see here, it finally exploded. You got to think this is the 4 hour, so you got to think, you can just imagine how it is on a lower time frame. Like after price just contract like this and then exploding, that's huge on like for people who trade like the hour, 15, 1 minute. That's a huge explosive move. So you got that on the 4 hour, and then price after that huge explosion, what happens? It repeats. It made a huge explosion, so now we have to rest, relax. We got to build up liquidity because price can't just constantly just keep going up. The only time price does that, like recently, like let me go back up to here real quick. Like here, for example, after a price kept going up like crazy, going past 5,000, obviously that was people taking their profit. So of course it just started going down. But guess what? What happened after it made this huge explosive move? What happened after that? Because that's a huge big drop. What happened? If we look at the current state, what we're doing? We're now, okay, hey, we got to slow back down. Now we got to rest, build up liquidity, slow down, manipulate some people out their position. That's how liquidity operates. It has to build up pressure first. So this is a good example of price making a huge move, and then guess what it's doing? It's starting to slow down, starting to contract. Price always moving them kind of phases. So if you can understand, see what I'm doing is right for y'all. I'm breaking it down to every series so where you can understand. So the whole goal of this video is to not try to, if y'all watch this, pay attention to this series, like I said, the last series we focus on, understanding uptrend, transition, and downtrend. So guess what? That gave y'all, I'm posting a series every single week. So every week I'll be posting at least maybe 2 series. 2 education series, trading for beginners. And I'm breaking it down so that way each week, right, you'll be able to focus on one task at a time. So last week was focused on how to identify uptrend, transition, and downtrend. Next week, now we focus on, okay, hey, look, watching how price, and you can do this on every time frame, not just higher time frame. You can watch this on every time frame from how price explode, contract, explode, contract, explode. It's not going to never just keep shooting up. It's going to always at some point slow back down because it has to build liquidity. Here's another example of price in a nice downtrend. You can see how it's, like I said, it's 4 hour. Price shooting down very hard, and then all of a sudden price started to contract. Price started contracting right here. This is a perfect example of that. We shot down very hard, and then price started contracting, and then we ended up shooting back up. That's a clear example. These are huge moves down. And what happened? It starts to slow down. It has to slow down. It can't just keep going down. It has to slow down. Especially when price trying to reverse. You're going to see that a lot too. When price is trying to reverse or either manipulate some people out of their position. Then the 2 main times where price like to slow down and contract is when it either trying to reverse or manipulate people out of its position to go back in direction. That happens a lot more than you think. You just got to pay attention. So if you start just focus on that kind of stuff and start watching, I'll show you another example. For example, look at this. Price spiked down hard, and then look how it created this phase right here. Look how it did this right here. Look at this. This is the 4 hour candle. That's one 4 hour candle. So you can imagine how that is on a lower time frame for y'all scalpers, for y'all intraday traders. I'm a swing trader, so as a swing trader, I won't get as affected because I do have a certain style how I trade. But anyways, I'll probably say for another video. But for a lot of people who trade on lower time frames, a lot of people got faked out around this right here. And then for some folks probably thought this was reversing and then kept going down. This is why it's important to keep up with the higher time frame. Or how about this? How price was going up in direction. We contract all of a sudden right here and then price continue to go back up. So, but yeah, so my homework for y'all, I'm not going to really go too much. I think that's it for this. It's very simple. It just, my homework for y'all for this week is to be able to identify what is, when prices explode, watch for the rest period where it contract. That's where you kind of want to say, okay, hey, what is price going to do next? Okay, wait for the breakout. It's going to manipulate. It's going to break out, manipulate, then break out, or will this breakout continue going up? So you want to watch these phases to be able to identify, because if you can identify these phases, when they explode, then rest. Explode, then rest. And like I said, usually this happen only for two reasons. The main two reasons is when price is trying to reverse or when price is trying to manipulate people. So, or after a big move, like I said, doesn't happen and people are taking profit. So that's my main thing. Make sure y'all follow, subscribe for more volume, more daily. I do, market daily breakdown as well, and I hope you find value in this video. And I will see you as well on the next series. You don't want to miss out on the next series. Like I said, on each series, I'm breaking this down. I'll be going over market structure, risk management, psychology, how to combine your higher time frames. So I'm going to be going over a lot of stuff in these upcoming series, Trading for Beginners. So other than that, I hope y'all have a good trading week coming up ahead. Make sure y'all trade smarter. And again, the model, like I always tell y'all, the goal is all about surviving long enough to win. And then if you can do that, then you'll be profitable. It's not about trying to avoid losses, trying to get the most biggest wins. It's about taking small wins and compounding, surviving long enough to win. Knowing how much to risk on a trade, knowing where your trading plan is no longer valid, and then knowing what to risk. These little small things can help you be profitable in the long term and be consistent, because guess what? Anybody can put a trade and make a quick win. Anybody can do that. So other than that, I will see you on the next video, and as well, for those who keep watching, I will see you on the next market breakdown as well too, as I break down the market throughout the week.